When 99 bikers on a charity run saw a barefoot girl in a yellow dress screaming in the middle of a Detroit highway, they had no idea her mother was hanging from an oak tree with 30 seconds left to live. What happened next made the yard dogs wish they'd never heard the sound of a Harley engine. Before we dive in, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments right now. I want to see how far the Steel Horseman story is reaching across the country. And if you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we bring you real stories about loyalty, redemption, and the kind of justice that doesn't come from a courtroom. It comes from Brotherhood. Now, let's get into the story of how a little girl in a yellow dress turned 99 charity riders into guardian angels. The heat came off the asphalt in waves you could see. 99 Harleys rolled down County Road for like a mechanical river, chrome gleaming under the brutal July sun. The smell of hot rubber and pine trees hung thick in the humid Michigan air. William Wild Bill Miller rode point, his silver beard whipping in the wind, his cut bearing the Steel Horseman patch, a winged skull gripping a wrench. They were halfway to the children's hospital with toys strapped to their sissy bars when William saw the yellow. A flash of fabric. Too bright. Moving wrong. He hit both brakes hard enough to leave twin black scars on the road. The bike screamed beneath him. Behind him, 98 machines roared and skidded, a chorus of controlled chaos that shook the trees. The little girl stood in the center line, barefoot and shaking. Her yellow dress was caked with mud and what might have been blood. Tears cut clean tracks through the dirt on her face. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, but her eyes looked ancient with terror. William killed his engine. The silence felt wrong. "Mister," her voice cracked like breaking glass. She stumbled forward on cut feet, leaving red prints on the hot asphalt. "Please, they hung my mama on the tree." William swung off his bike, his boots hitting pavement like thunder. Up close, he could see the purple fingerprints bruised in her thin arms. Adult-sized. Violent. Who hung? They put the rope on her neck. Vivian grabbed his cut with both tiny fists, shaking so hard her teeth rattled. The big oak tree by the barn. "She can't breathe. She's gonna die." William looked down at this child who'd run God knows how far on bare feet. Then he looked back at his brothers, 98 pairs of eyes watching, waiting for orders. He didn't give orders. He gave a war cry. The farmhouse exploded into view through a tunnel of cornstalks. White paint blistered by sun, shutters hanging crooked. But William didn't see the house. He saw the tree. The massive oak stood near the red barn like a monument to something terrible. Mrs. Willoughby hung from a thick branch, twisting slow in the humid air. Her feet kicked weakly at nothing. A plastic bucket lay tipped beneath her, just out of reach. "Mama!" Vivian's scream tore through the thunder of 99 engines. For men in dirty Carhartt jackets scattered from the tree line. The yard dogs, running like rats when the lights come on. They crashed through the cornfield, stalks snapping like bones. William didn't chase them. Not yet. "Tank!" he roared over the idling engines. The biggest man in the Steel Horseman was already moving, 6'5" of tattooed muscle sprinting toward the oak. He positioned himself beneath the hanging woman, arms spread wide like a net. William gunned his throttle, tearing across the yard. The bike jumped the flower bed, crushed a ceramic bird bath, and slid to a stop at the tree's gnarled roots. He stood on his seat, knees shaking, leather creaking, and pulled his buck knife. One cut, clean and savage. Mrs. Willoughby dropped like a stone into Tank's waiting arms. Her face was purple, lips blue as a winter sky. William hit the ground running, sliding to his knees in the grass beside her. His calloused hands tilted her head back, fingers checking for a pulse he couldn't find. "Come on, lady. Come on. 2 breaths. 30 compressions." He counted in his head like a prayer. Vivian sobbed somewhere behind him, clutching his vest with white knuckles. Nothing. Breathe, goddammit. 15 more compressions. Another breath. Mrs. Willoughby's chest hitched. Her mouth opened. A wet, rattling gasp filled the silence. Get the chase truck. William barked. We're not waiting for. A shotgun blast split the air. From the cornfield, someone was shooting back. William's engine roared to life, a sound like a shotgun blast. He pointed down the dirt road Vivian had come from and twisted the throttle. The rear tire spun, kicking gravel like shrapnel. The charity run was over. Vivian climbed onto his tank, her small arms wrapped around his waist. Behind them, 98 bikes peeled off the pavement onto the dirt lane. The dust cloud they kicked up blocked out the sun, turning day into apocalypse. William could feel Vivian's heartbeat against his ribs, fast and terrified. He opened the throttle wider. Somewhere ahead, through the trees, he could hear dogs barking. And then, a woman's scream cut short. The lawyer had a $500 suit and a 50-cent soul. He pushed through the Detroit Medical Center's ER doors 90 minutes after Mrs. Willoughby disappeared behind the trauma curtain. His eyes swept the waiting room. 99 bikers in leather cuts, sitting like a jury, before landing on the closed door marked patient recovery. I'm here on behalf of the property owners, he announced, briefcase snapping open. Mrs. Willoughby needs to sign some documents regarding the farm sale. It's urgent. William stood from his chair. Every biker in the room stood with him. A synchronized movement that made the fluorescent lights seem dimmer. She ain't signing shit, William said quietly, planting himself in front of the door. His tattooed arms crossed over his chest. The steel horseman patch stretched across his back like a battle flag. The lawyer's smile never reached his eyes. Sir, this is a legal matter. I don't think you understand. I understand you work for the men who just tried to lynch a woman. William took one step forward. The lawyer took 2 steps back. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to turn around, walk out that door, and tell your bosses that the steel horsemen are watching now. The lawyer's hand drifted toward his phone. 80 bikers shifted in their seats, leather creaking, knuckles cracking, chains rattling. The hand stopped moving. This isn't over, the lawyer hissed, backing toward the exit. Not even close. When the automatic doors hissed shut, William heard a small sound behind him. Vivian sat curled in an orange plastic chair, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. The hospital's AC blasted like a meat locker. Her yellow dress was still damp with her mother's blood. Her bare feet were bandaged, but the fear hadn't left her eyes. William's rough hands fumbled with the buttons of his cut. The heavy leather vest, covered in patches from 20 years of riding, still held the heat of the summer sun and smelled like motor oil and Old Spice. He draped it over her small shoulders. It swallowed her completely, sleeves dragging on the tile floor. You're safe now, little bee, he whispered, his voice cracking. Vivian's tiny fingers wrapped around his calloused hand. She didn't let go. Within minutes, her breathing slowed. Her head tilted against his arm, and she was asleep. William looked down at this child who'd run barefoot through hell to save her mother. Something inside his chest, something he thought Vietnam had killed, stirred back to life. Boss. Tank appeared at his shoulder, voice low and tight. We got a problem. Through the waiting room window, William saw them. A black Dodge Ram circled the parking lot like a shark. Tinted windows. No plats. The yard dog's truck. They weren't done, and they knew where the women were. William's jaw clenched. He carefully extracted his hand from Vivian's grip and stood, cracking his neck. Call the brothers, he said quietly. We're taking them home. Tank raised an eyebrow. And then what? Then we stay. Outside, the black truck made another slow circle. Inside, a gun cocked somewhere in the darkness of the parking garage. Mrs. Willoughby's hand shook too hard to hold the discharge papers. "I can't go back there," she whispered, voice hoarse from the rope burns around her throat. The bruises had turned from purple to black, spreading like ink stains across her neck. "They'll finish what they started." William crouched beside her wheelchair, his knees popping like gunshots. "Ma'am, you ain't going back alone." The convoy that rolled into the Willoughby farm looked like an occupying army. 99 bikes flanking a pickup truck carrying Mrs. Willoughby and Vivian, wrapped in hospital blankets that smelled like antiseptic and fear. But what happened next wasn't an occupation. It was a resurrection. Wrench and gears. The club's mechanics tore down the broken fence posts and rebuilt them with treated lumber from Tank's truck. The sound of hammers against nails became a rhythm, a heartbeat. Chopper and his prospect fixed the sagging porch steps, replacing rotted boards that had probably been dangerous for years. Someone fired up an ancient John Deere mower they found in the barn. The overgrown yard surrendered in strips, revealing flower beds that hadn't seen sunlight in months. By sunset, motion sensor floodlights blazed from every corner of the property, powered by a generator that rumbled like a sleeping dragon. The farmhouse didn't look abandoned anymore. It looked defended. Vivian appeared at William's elbow while he wiped down his chrome. She held a dirty rag in one hand and hope in her eyes. "Can I help?" William looked down at this 7-year-old girl in a borrowed t-shirt 3 sizes too big, standing in a shadow like she belonged there. "Yeah, little B, you can help." She worked the cloth in small circles on the fender, tongue poking out in concentration. When she looked up, proud of the shine, William felt something crack open in his chest. "Watch this," he said, and whistled. 2 sharp notes like a bird call. Vivian tried. Air hissed through her teeth. "Like this." He showed her again, slower. By the 5th try, she got it. A single, clear note that made her eyes go wide with wonder. Night swallowed the Michigan countryside. William sat on the porch swing, an aluminum baseball bat across his lap, watching moths commit suicide against the floodlights. The screen door creaked. Mrs. Willoughby stepped out, moving slow, holding 2 chipped mugs of instant coffee. "Why?" she asked, sitting beside him. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Why would strangers risk everything for us?" William stared into the darkness beyond the lights. His jaw worked. "Vietnam," he said finally. 1968, I left a village when the VC came. Told myself it wasn't my fight. His thumb found the faded scar on his forearm. Went back 3 days later. Everyone was dead. He took a breath that shook. "I made a promise that day. Never again. Not on my watch." Mrs. Willoughby's hand found his. Somewhere in the cornfield, a twig snapped. Then another. William's hand tightened on the bat. In the darkness, red cigarette embers glowed like demon eyes. They come back. The gas can hit the porch at 3:07 a.m., sloshing gasoline across the wooden planks. The yard dogs came with shotguns and matches, 8 men creeping through the cornfield like cowards. They thought the bikers had gone home. They thought wrong. The barn doors exploded open. 99 steel horsemen poured out like a flood of leather and fury. No guns, no knives, just fists and iron pipes, and 20 years of bar fights coded in a muscle memory. William hit the gang leader, a skinny tweaker called Mac, like a freight train. They crashed into the mud beside the oak tree, rolling and punching. Mac swung wild. William fought surgical. A right hook, an elbow to the ribs, the wet crack of a jaw breaking. 15 minutes later, 8 yard dogs were zip-tied to the same oak tree where they'd hung Mrs. Willoughby, bleeding and whimpering under the motion lights. The state police arrived at dawn, loading them into cruisers while reading rights nobody cared about. William packed his saddlebag as the sun climbed. 99 engines rumbled to life, a chorus of goodbyes. Then he felt small arms wrap around his leg. Vivian looked up at him, eyes red but unafraid. William knelt, his vision blurring. Every Sunday, he promised, voice breaking, "I'll be here for dinner." He reached into his vest and pulled out a small patch, a silver horseshoe with wings. He pinned it to her shirt. "Your family now, little B. Official junior protector." The bikes rolled out, engines roaring like celebration, leaving behind a fortress where a crime scene used to be. In his mirror, William saw Vivian waving, wearing his colors. The girl who'd screamed barefoot in the road was finally smiling. Blood makes you related. Brotherhood makes you family. If you believe that real heroes don't wear capes, they wear leather cuts and ride Harleys. Like and share this story. Subscribe now for more stories like this. Stories about brotherhood, second chances, and the kind of courage that thunders down back roads on two wheels. Also check out the 2 videos showing on the screen right now, specially crafted for you.